In this video, we're going to be taking a look at creating a rhinestone design from beginning to end, how I would approach it using Easy Stone. So let's go ahead and create a new blank document. And then let's go ahead and import the graphic that we're going to be using as the basis for our design. So this is a design that I've got to get done, and this is a local business here I want to create a design for. And the first thing that we need to do is size this design to the size that we want. Now, there's something I do want to point out very quickly. Any design that we do here at Easy Stone Templates, we always begin with a JPEG. Even if the design is given to us in a vector format, the first thing that we would do is we would convert that vector format to a bitmap or JPEG format. Now, I know that sounds completely backwards to how most of you would go about doing your design, but that's just how we do it. And I've created, literally thousands of designs. And so this process that I use is one that I've developed over a period of a lot of years in creating literally thousands of designs, and also using just about every single rhinestone software on the planet. And ultimately, what I want to create is first of all, the very, very highest quality design. I look at designs in the marketplace. I look at designs that other people have done, and they're just not as good. A lot of them aren't as good as they could be. Um, but you'll find that when we go through and begin to design this design, that the process I use is a, a more time-consuming process than this magical click a button and watch the software do its amazing wonderment. I'm not about amazing wonderment. The truth of the matter is, there isn't any software out there, and trust me, I have them all. I've used them all. This is not a sales pitch about Easy Stone, because I'll be the first one to tell you, Easy Stone really doesn't do anything that magical, that special. There's lots of rhinestone macros out there in the marketplace, and really Easy Stone isn't necessarily any better than any of those others. But there is some neat functionality in Easy Stone that you won't find in other programs, but it's not Easy Stone. Just owning Easy Stone will do you absolutely nothing. What is going to do you something is for you to understand, first of all, a methodology of going about a design, and just a whole different approach when it comes to design. And like I said, we're really after absolute premium quality. And hopefully, when you look at our designs and you compare those to other designs out there in the marketplace, hopefully you can see, wow, this really is that much better than some of the other designs that are out there. It's because of me. It's because of, when I say me, I'm talking about, it's because of the designer. It's not because of the software. The software, yes, it will help us in our design work, but ultimately it has nothing to do with the software. It's absolutely everything to do with you, the designer. Okay? So, um, first things first, we need to size our design. Let's open up our rhinestone macro here. So we're going to open up Easy Stone. And the first thing we have to do is set our design, because we have no idea how big this currently is. And the way we do that, we're just going to come over here to our specialty tab and choose the set size feature. And all we have to do is click on the leftmost side and the rightmost side, and it'll give us this dialog box, and it tells us what it currently is. Well, it's currently 10.75. I'm just going to make the design 10, and it'll resize it slightly. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and right click and choose lock object. Now, anytime we begin a design, we want to create the design as closely to the original artwork as it was, as it is. And what I don't know in this particular design, like if you just take the word collective, for example, okay, we know the whole design is 10. We don't know how wide just the word collective is. But in looking at this, to me, it looks tiny. Okay, from a design perspective, it looks tiny. So what does that ultimately mean for us? Well, we won't really know until we lay down a rhinestone if this is even stoneable at its current dimension. So I do know, however, that if we can stone it, it's going to have to be done in sixes. So the first step is you can see right now our stone size is SS10, but if we right click on the SS6 button, now we've changed our stone size to SS6. So if we add stones to this document, we're going to be adding SS6 stones. And we're going to right click on add stones, and you see our dry dropper. We're just going to drop one single stone and hit our escape key. Now, this is interesting. I didn't expect this, and I've never done this design before, so I wanted to approach it as in real time, how I would really look at this design. What was I expecting? I was expecting this. This is kind of what I was expecting. A much bigger dot where this wording in its current dimension would not be stoneable. Now, after dropping that one SS6 stone and putting it near our graphic, I'm thinking to myself, I actually could stone this probably in its current dimension. But I think it would be just a pinch better if it was slightly larger. Okay. Now, remember I talked to you about I want to create the design as true to the original as I can. And in this case, I don't think making the word collective slightly larger is going to be that big of a deal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock my object and I'm going to make a duplicate of it. Then I'm going to grab my shape edit tool here and I'm just going to take these nodes of the design, and what I want to do is I just want to kind of highlight just that one little piece. Okay, something about like such. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and I'm going to bring that up a little bit. So I just want that word by itself. Now, I am going to make it slightly larger, and then I can bring it right back over here to my artwork. Okay. I don't remember. Is that stone still sitting there? No, the stone's gone. But you can see it's overhanging this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back into my shape edit tool, and I'm going to add a couple of nodes and delete that. So you can see that takes care of that problem, and we'll delete that. Okay, so now we can actually see the word collective. So yes, it is slightly bigger than it was, but again, I don't think it really hinders our design to any degree. So now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to just going to go ahead and take those two parts, because remember I have this part sitting on top. I'm just going to take those two parts and convert it back to a bitmap again. And even though it already is a bitmap, I'm going to convert it back to a bitmap again. And basically all that's going to do is take those two parts and combine it together. Okay. So typically what we would do in a regular rhinestone process would be to take this whole graphic and convert it to a vector, and then the software would somehow magically like read this word collective, and the software would magically add stones to it. And the truth of the matter is, for those of you who do design work on a day-to-day basis, you might get an okay result because this is a very basic font, or you might not. And more often than not, it certainly won't be as perfect of a result by taking the approach that we're going to take, I don't believe you would get a the same caliber of result. So let's just go ahead and begin here with our letter. Let's begin with a V because that's actually very, very basic. So right click, add stones. We're going to drop a stone. We're going to hit the escape key to get out of that drop stone function. So there is a singletary stone. We're going to go to the stone fill tab and we're just going to offset. And so you can see this is what we get. I'm going to lock that logo down again. So that's what we get. You can see this is slightly larger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move this up, and then I'm going to take these stones and space them vertically. Okay. Now I'm gonna copy this one over to our letter T, and I'm just going to offset, 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 and then I'm going to make another stone right to the top of my T. And then I'm going to take all of these stones and I'm going to space them vertically. Okay. Now you can see here, here's our cross T, and what I like to do for our crosses is I like to split a stone. That's what I really like to do. So that's what I'm going to do with this case. So yes, it's a little bit off from the original artwork, but I think it's okay. I think it'll be okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and copy over this stone here and copy over this stone here. So you can see this is a more manual process, but I feel like the work that we do, it's worth it because we get a more perfected result. Now, this is a good example. You see that slight overlap there? Let's go into wireframe mode and look at that a little bit closer. Don't worry about that. It's okay. And I'll tell you why it's okay. If we were to select those two functions, we have a function in EasyStone called check spacing. Let's choose that function. And the Easy says, hey, EasyStone says there's no issues here. So if EasyStone don't find an issue with it, then no, it's not an issue. So what happens is when you go to cut your template, yes, will you have a little bit, but your stones, because the overlap is so slight, your stones will still sweep in there and you won't have any issues whatsoever. All right, let's just keep going here. So we've got the L here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this stone vertically to the top and select those two and hit add stones, and it'll just figure out what we need in the middle. Now if we look at this, you see that amount of spacing in between? To me, that is too great. So what happens if we just add a stone? We're going to use this target function to add a stone, and see our spacing is still pretty good, but not quite as much as it was. We know it's less than 1/2 millimeter, but not that much less. So we'll just go ahead and use that and copy that on over. Now, what else we got here? We got a big C, an O, an E, a C, and an E. And the nice thing here in this with this design is that all of this, all the rest of the letters except the large C, are basically the same. Same letters. They're just different. They're the same but different. No, seriously, you'll see here in a moment what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy. I've taken the topmost stone from the letter L and the bottommost stone from the letter L and copied it over here to our C. And then this is what I would do for this because it's pretty straightforward. Anyone can do this. We're just going to take this, and all I'm doing is dragging a stone, and I'm just using the C as my guideline. And when I want to make a duplicate, in this case, I'm just hitting my space bar. Now you see what I did there? I deliberately did this just so you could have a good understanding of what EasyStone can do. Because anyone can design this way. Anyone. As long as you understand the process, anyone can do what I just did. If you were going to take a rhinestone software, you're going to convert this collective word to vector, and then you're going to add stones to it with your rhinestone software. Okay, that whole process takes a little bit more know-how, and then your rhinestone software might do a good job, And more often than not, even on a simple font like this, it probably won't. I've seen some really bad stuff that people try to pass off as quality work. So this, you're guaranteed perfection. While this doesn't look perfected, it is guaranteed perfection, and it's super simple. Anyone can do what I just did. You're just copying a dot and following an outline, hitting your space bar as you go. That is about as easy as it gets. Now, where Easy Stone does do a magical function for us, if we were to select all of these stones, Easy Stone can automatically space those so that the spacing between all of those are absolutely pristine. Okay, so let's just say, like, let's just add, I'm just deliberately, okay, when you're putting those stones around that letter C, you don't have to be perfect. I tend to do it out of habit, where I do have the spacing dot 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 all the way around. You don't need it. And you don't even need the right number of stones. You just need to give Easy Stone an idea of what we want. Now here I went overboard and I put in a bunch of stones there, but you wouldn't necessarily have to. And you could see here, I've not taken any rhyme or reason as to how they go on there. They just need to be on there. Don't worry about spacing like I do. Okay? So now we're going to select all of our stones and we're going to tell Easy Stone, hey, space all these properly for us because we didn't do a very good job when we first placed them. But Easy Stone needs to know something. It needs to know where either the start or end point is. And to do that, when you make a selection of all these stones, there's no way to tell Easy Stone where the beginning and end is. It doesn't know that at this point. But if we were to hold our shift key down and click on this very topmost stone here, that stone becomes deselected. You can tell that because look at all the ones turn pink, but that one. If we hold the shift key down and reselect it, and then we right click on D, notice how Easy Stone went ahead and spaced all those stones perfectly. So let's do that again. Now I think these stones are a little bit too close together. So you see that pink target? We're just going to back off one stone. And there you go. Now we have our perfect spacing. So we just put a stone at the beginning, a stone at the end, and then put a few stones around. And I am just going to show you that again one more time, just so you have a good understanding of what we did, okay? And then the process is exactly the same for everything. So we put a stone down, and I'm going to pick that stone up and hit my shift key. I'm gonna copy over stone. I'm gonna hit my space bar. When I'm happy with placing a stone, I'm just gonna hit my space bar. Okay, so this time I put in far less stones than what I did the first time. I just wanted to show you, you just have to give Easy Stone an idea of what it is you want. Now we're going to make a selection. We're going to hold shift and shift again to specify that's the last stone we selected. Easy Stone knows that's where we want to begin. We can right click, and now you can see Easy Stone has spread out all those stones for us. Now in this case, this is kind of a unique case. We can clear out those stones by right-clicking on this BS. That's really break stones, and then we'll just add stones back to that path. And then Easy Stone would automatically calculate how many stones would properly fit that path and maintain this 0.5 millimeter spacing between each one. Okay, so once you understand the basic principles of how it's supposed to work, then you'll see that it works pretty well. So let's go ahead and copy over. So we're going to kind of do the same thing here. Now, this is where you got to think smarter, not harder. Okay? The O and the E and the C are all the same. But what's at the root? Well, the root is the O. So we're going to select all of this. We're going to right click on D. We're going to add a stone. And then we're going to just kind of position these just a little bit different. because I am just a perfectionist. That's the only reason. That's the only reason you have to do that. But we're going to mirror this. So there is our O. Okay, so now we have our O. So let's just go ahead and copy that over. Now, in real time, if I wasn't trying to deliberately take the time to explain this, obviously this would not take that long. In real time, just once you really know what you're doing, it only takes a couple minutes. Okay, so now we have to modify this slightly for our E. So I'm going to delete that one. And this one is actually already pretty much where it should be. So we could just use this offset function to offset it. Now you can see that spacing is pretty great. If we were to go ahead and add a stone there and hit horizontal spacing, you could see how tight that is. That's pretty tight. So if we delete that one, we'll reselect these and hit horizontal. And yes, that spacing is really wider than I would like, but it is what it is. We can't fit anything different in there, so we'll just leave it be. Now here, I'm gonna just make a copy of this stone and see I brought it right to that endpoint of the E. Now, so what do we have here? So we've got a situation where we know now we have too many stones around this path. I did that deliberately because I needed that endpoint there. So I'm going to grab this freehand pick tool, and when you get good at using CorelDRAW, you'll get good at using that freehand pick tool. So we're just going to come in here, and you can kind of see what we've got here. If I turn these to pink, you can see what is pink and what isn't. I just wanted to show you that. I deliberately did not fully encase a couple of stones just to make a point here. Anytime we're using our freehand pick tool and we're trying to pick stones, what I like to do is I like to hold down my Alt key. And basically what that allows me to do is now I could just scribble through the stones that I do want to pick up. Ta-da! Okay, and then once I do that, now you can see I picked them all up. So to me, it's just better to use your Alt key in conjunction with your freehand pick tool and just scribble right through. You just got to touch the stones that you want. You don't have to worry about getting them completely selected if you're using the regular freehand pick tool without that Alt function. Okay, so again, we got to specify our start and end point. Right click on D. Well, we know we have too many stones, so we'll just take one out. And there you go. There is our letter E now. So our letter C, we just have to basically delete a stone. And if you really want to get picky, let's back up to that. Let's back that one up. Let's back this one up right to its end, and let's do the same thing. So again, we have our freehand pick tool. In this case, I won't use my Alt key. Start and end, right click, too many stones, done. Okay, so now we have a perfected E, a perfected C, a perfected O. I just need to copy this E over. Ta-da. And there we have the word collective. And the nice thing about it is absolutely perfect. We have the very best stone setup that we could. We don't have to just kind of do it halfway and let the software do its magical touches, okay? So now, what are we going to do next? Well, let's go ahead and do this big circle, and then we will tackle the rags and roses text. So what do we want to do with the circle? Well, if we were to just use a regular, like I said, in a regular rhinestone program, what they would want you to do is they would want you to convert this to a vector, and then you would add stones to that vector. But because we are designing, we aren't using the software to automate adding stones and doing the design work for us. We are designing. And I'll explain once we get into this, you'll have a better understanding what I mean. So there is a certain thing that I do all the time. In this particular case, I'm going to do it again because I like it and because it it'll show you a good example of why we don't want to just click some magic button in a program to add stones to a piece of geometry. Because what we're about to do is something extra, something special in terms of design work. And that's really what's going to set our designs apart from, the people that are just clicking a button and saying, hey, add this. I'm going to let the software figure out how to add stones to this piece of geometry. We're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is first of all, we have to create a circle. So, because it's a circle, it's so simple, we're just going to create a circle here in CorelDRAW that's roughly the same dimension as our graphic here. So we'll just kind of bring it over, and you can see that that circle is now roughly the same size as our graphic. Now what I want to do is I want to offset this circle by a certain dimension. What I want for the perimeter of this design is I want to use SS6 stones and SS10 stones. That's what I want to use for this perimeter. So how do we do that? And how do we do it where it's fairly easy? Because I don't know what that dimension is. I know we want 2 paths to add stones to. I do know that. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our circle, and we have a special function here. This is in the stone fill tab, we have this island fill function. Well, when we open up our island fill function, we have some extra special functions. There's a lot of complicated things going on in EasyStone, but there's certain functions that we use so much that I created various functions in EasyStone to make that whole process a little bit easier to use. So in this case, we know we want to go from 6 to 16. And so we have this chart here. So we got 6 to 16. If we were to click this button right now, create offset, what that would do is it offset to the inside. Because we want to offset to the outside, we would just simply right click. Okay, so we'll go ahead and right click. And what it's done here, you can see it's created another path for us. So it's just created another path for us. And so now what I want to do is I want to chip away this part where you could see where this comes up and our roses begin. I want to bring our path of these stones that we're going to add. I don't want the stones up here where our roses are, obviously. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab our 2-point line tool and just drag a line, and then start from that end, drag a line over here, start from this end and drag a line up there, and then finally drag one right back across. And what that will allow me to do, that's now a shape, and I can now take this circle and I could trim it, and then I could take this circle on the outside and I could trim it. Okay, now there's a variety of ways that we could have done that. I just showed you one. But now we have this line here. We don't actually need, see this line here? We don't need that. So I'm going to select that. And then we do have a function here over on the editing tab where we can, because I have some nodes selected, we can choose break at nodes. And it will actually break that line for us. So we can see that. We could delete that line. That's now a line. And this green line is now a line. But we have 2 circles that we trim the same way. So I would just select that. We got to switch back to our shape edit tool. Select those nodes rather. Okay, and we'll choose the same thing, break at nodes. And so now we can go ahead and delete that. What do we do here? Okay, something happened here that shouldn't have happened. We could delete that. And I do see right here, we're going to just delete those back, delete that back, okay? So now you can see what we have here. We have these 2 paths, and now I'm going to add stones to them. So first, I'm going to add 6s, and let's change our color to, I don't know, I guess we'll just use orange. So we're going to right-click on that to change our color to orange, and then we're going to hit Add Stones. And you can see there are my 6s. Now I'm going to switch over to 16 and add some more. And there we go. So now you can see, let's just go ahead and pull this away temporarily, just so you can see an example of what we actually created here. And isn't that just a nice effect where we added the 6s and the 16s? And you can see how this is going to come along here. The word collective also looks super sharp as well. Again, a little bit extra time and all this prep work, but ultimately, because we are designing, we're going to get a really excellent result. Definitely better than if we were to just convert this shape to a vector. There's really no way that I know of in any rhinestone software to say, hey, we want 16s and 6s and we want them spread apart exactly this dimension and all this. But here it's actually really straightforward to go ahead and do. All right, now let's talk about Rags and Rose's text. You know, because you've probably seen some of my designs, I really focus on quality of work. Now, the nice thing is we have 2 R's, which we can reuse. We have lots of S's, which we can reuse. And the A and the O and the E and the G and the N. That's what we got to make. So sometimes when I'm doing, especially when I'm doing a really complicated design, I have to tell myself, I have to break it down. Well, we only have 5 letters. You know, it looks complicated, but it's really not. We're just going to dive in here, and we're really going to give some thought about what we want the look of this to look like, because this is what I think ultimately sets us apart from our competition. If we're all using Sierra Hotfix, for example, or if we're all using Easy Stone and we're all just clicking a button and watching the magic happen, then we're all basically going to create the same design. What's really going to set you apart from your competitors is the quality of your artwork and the finished result. And you know what I think you'll find is the better quality design you can do, probably the more business you're going to get, because people are going to buy shirts from somebody else and it's like, man, those didn't turn out quite as nice as I had hoped. But then they're going to buy one from you, like, damn, man, this is badass. So even though you might be a little bit higher, they know that the quality is definitely going to be there. So I really want to tune in, you know, because this is a shirt that we're going to use for marketing purposes. We want this to be badass. And so I'm going to take a look at this design and think about what stones I want to use and how I want to represent this text. There is no magic push a button and add stones to this thing. I've got to take control and design this thing. So normally what I do, just as a kind of a normal thing, when I'm working with a script text, which this kind of sort of is, I always would work backwards. So anytime you have a wording like this where one letter is connected to the other, I always work right to left versus left to right. Okay, and that's because if we were to add stones to our letter G, and I don't really know where letter S is going to start and end, I would rather have S in place so that I can begin my letter G from this point. You know, to me, that's just how I just want you to kind of share with you how I work. So let's just take this little guy right here. Okay. This is what I know I want to do. I only want to use 10s and 6s for this text. I'm pretty sure that is true. One design I did very recently, if you go to our website, you can check it out, easystonetemplates.com, is the President Trump 2020. The reason that comes to mind is because it's a very simple text design, but I actually used in the same color, I used SS16s, SS10s, and SS6s because I wanted that effect. I wanted that badassness. You know, you look at a design that's using only SS10 stones, and you look at a design that's using 6s and 16s, your mind is going to say that's a more cool looking design than the same text just all in one stone size. Okay, that's just how it works. So I'm going to let my design mind go to town on this little apostrophe. So I need, first of all, I'm going to put crystal stones in here. I need an SS10 and I need an SS6. And I'm going to hit the escape key. And then we're going to go do some design work. So we're going to go, there's nothing special about what I just did. You saw in real time what I just did, right? So we dropped some SS10s, and now we have some SS6s, and we're going to go back to SS10. No design software is going to do that. We, as a designer, have to do that. We have to really know what we want, and ultimately, and that is not really that impressive. But once we get through all of the text, and I'm going to show you every painstaking detail, and if you want to sit here and watch every painstaking detail, I would certainly encourage you to do that. But this is the process. This is how our designs look the way they look. It's not because of Easy Stone. It's because of our brain sitting here knocking this design out. Okay, so for this, I don't know how this works until we work it, okay? So I'm just going to put in some stones. Okay. Then I'm going to select all of those. I'm going to right click on D, and then I know I need more. So I'm going to find out how many more I need, and then I'm going to be happy with that, okay? Now I'm going to come over here. And I'm just going to place some stones. And then I'm going to take those, my freehand pick tool, remember I'm going to scratch through them, start and end, and resort them. Now, I would have liked to have had some SS6s in this, but it's so small, really, I can only fit 2 rows of 10s. So, we'll just have to live with it. But guess what? Over here, look at this. Over here, now I think we're going to be in the same boat. It's only wide enough for 2 rows of 10s. But that's all right. So now I am going to use some SS6s right here, though. Okay, and then we'll come up with some 10s. And we'll come up here with some 10s. And then here we'll have a 10. And here we'll do a 6. And you know what? I might even do a 6 there and there, and then a 10. Okay. And then let's go ahead and add these down here. And we'll add these coming around the bend here. And then I think I'm going to change that to a 6 maybe. And I want to sort all of these now. Spread all them out because it's just kind of this big row. So let's go ahead and right click, get that spacing dead nuts on between each one. I can fine tune this now. You can see that was just a little bit close there. Okay. And then we can finish this off. So I think what I'll do is I'll bring up a 10 and then we'll finish it off with a 6. So that's the whole design process, like I said. And to me, that's really important because there's no rhinestone software that's going to set all them stones in that fashion for you because we're using our brains as a designer. And I think what you'll see, though, once the design is complete, that by taking that extra time and manipulating those stones, you just, the look, the finished result is so worth the payoff that I couldn't imagine doing it any other way. So now let's go ahead and do our letter S. We'll just start here. Looks like we can do some 10s there. So we'll go ahead. And then we're going to drop down to a 6. And I'll be happy with that. Then we'll come over here with some 10s. Just kind of following that outline. Don't worry too much about perfect spacing at this point. We know we want a 10 down here. Let's go ahead and come around here. And then we'll switch over to 6s. I'll probably just stop right there. And here we'll go 10s. Here. And you know, there's certain points though that you really can't do much about. So here we're just going to do 1 6, and that's going to be that corner. And then we'll come up here. Let's bring up a SS6 stone, maybe another SS6 stone right there, and then we'll come down with SS10 stones. So now I have my stones more or less in place. I now need to go ahead and set the spacing so it's all nice and even. And then we can fine tune, because of our spacing, we can fine tune the positioning of those second row of stones. I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to go ahead and reset the outside line. I do tend to find myself going through and picking. I just have my shift key selected and I'm just going through and picking up those rhinestones. I could have used my alt function with my freehand pick tool. I revert kind of back and forth a little bit. So those all shifted, but now that whole outer row is all perfectly spaced the same. And now we have that inner row spaced the same. And now we're going to do our G here. And again, I'm just hitting my space bar, making my duplicate stones. And all I'm doing right now is just kind of giving Easy Stone an idea, right down here to SS10s, of what I'm looking for. And then we'll use Easy Stone to go ahead and pick up all the extra stones I might need. So let's go ahead and select those stones. Easy Stone has a good idea. There's enough there to get an idea of what I want. There we go. And then all we have to do basically is connect these two now. Now these two, you can see that the spacing is a little bit too great there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop that to a 6, because I know 2 6s could fit in there where 2 10s couldn't. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about. You know, those little tiny little elements, you wouldn't get that with Rhinestone software, because the Rhinestone softwares, you know, they're just not that advanced to think like that. So, so now we'll go ahead and we'll drop that down to a 6 right here. And believe it or not, you'll see just that one tiny little stone actually does make a difference. It really, really does. So now we'll just go ahead and come over here. And we can kind of do the same thing as we did the first time. Just kind of more or less give Easy Stone an idea of what we want. So we want some stones on the inside here. So we'll place a few, and then ask Easy Stone to figure the rest out for us. So I'm just going to scrub through those. Right click, get rid of what's on there now by right-clicking, and then click Add Stones, and let Easy Stone calculate. So that's how I would go in and add that second row. So now we can go ahead and finish this row. Same way, just add a few, give Easy Stone an idea of what we're looking for, and then I am going to go ahead and scrub through again. So we just scrub through. I'm not going to go all the way to the top, although I could, but I don't think that's really that necessary. And probably what I should have done, I'm going to back out here. When I selected the stones to be used, I should not have selected this one. I should maybe come down just to here. Let's go ahead and try that. I think that'll give us a better right to there. There's one here I didn't mean to select. See that? But now, if I right click, it'll give me a better, there we go. So we'll just come around. And yeah, all that spacing is pretty dead on accurate. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the outside part of my G. Some people will take the time and see the value in creating designs in this fashion. Other people, they don't want, they just want ultimate speed. They don't care about quality. It's all about speed. So there's, there is two schools of thought there, so to speak. But for me, it's all about quality, 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 quality. I want the very best quality design I can get. Okay, so I think I am going to switch that to a 6 and tidy that up to a 6. And that's one thing I like to do anytime we're connecting letters. See how I always split the stones? I always try and do that. Always, 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 always. To me, it looks better. So we're going to swipe through again these stones that we want to select. Right click on D, get rid of what we got, make sure our stone size is 10, and then add some more back in. So Easy Stone calculated all that out for us. So we're going to put an SS6 there. We're going to put an SS6 there and there and there. And then we're going to switch to a 10. And then we'll add some more 10s. And then we'll ask Easy Stone to go ahead and sort those for us. So we're going to swipe through them again. That takes care of that. So you can see we're making good progress. So now we'll go ahead on with our A. We're going to have two things of A. And this tail right here, I want, like I said, I always try and put it in between two stones. Even though we're going against the original artwork ever so slightly, I just think that looks better. So we'll come down here. A lot of times too, when we're doing our artwork, and I just kind of thought about this, and yes, it does actually look like we can do that. Notice that the A is already been created in G. So let's just go ahead and delete all of that. And just go ahead and grab all of this. It's been created enough where we can modify it pretty simply. So let's go ahead and copy it over. So we don't have to redo everything. And it does kind of look cool because it'll almost be identical, But you can see there is a little bit of modification, not much. So it's just that tail, basically, how that tail gets incorporated there. So then it's just a matter of fixing that part. So we're going to put a 6 there, and really I think that should be an SS10. And then we'll probably just take one of those stones out. So we're going to select those, right click on D, and then deselect one stone. And see that spacing there? I'm not wild about that much spacing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up a little bit. And I am going to make that a 6. And I'm going to deal with this gap. See that gap right there? And I'm just going to bring that in a little bit. So now I'm going to swipe through those stones. So I swipe through and then back through again vertically and resort that. So sometimes, I go back and forth because like I said, I'm really trying to get it perfected. And so you try one thing, I don't know if I like that. I'll try something else. And I will nitpick on that one tiny little stone. I do that because, like I said, I just want this to look absolutely, really, really badass. So now we can come up here and do this part of our R. And again, I'm just going to come in here, tell EasyStone about where I want stuff to be. And now that it knows that's what I got to have, spread those out for me. Get rid of what it's already there. Make sure I got some 10s and add those stones back in. It just recalculates things for me. And this is, pretty straightforward as far as it's just, straight column. So there's not much fancy business here right at the moment. And, I could pretty well leave that the way it is as far as spacing goes. I don't think there's really much there to do. Now, where this R comes into our A, I do want to either, if I can't put it in the middle of two stones, then I'll just put it face to face. That's fine. Face to face is fine. So now we'll go ahead and switch over to 10s. Create this part of our R. And we go up here. That is also going to be 10s because how wide that part of the design is. So we just let the, more or less you're going to let the artwork kind of speak for itself. This right here is going to be a 6 because we can't fit a 10 in there. And then we could switch back over to 10s. So we're going to come up and around. You can see that right there is about the width of a 10. So we're going to just come in here and add some on our outside border. We're going to go ahead and add a 6 right at our tip. And we're going to spread all those back out. But I got to finish this. We're going to do that with the rest of it. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'm really adding more stones, along that perimeter than I really need to tell, than I really need just to tell EasyStone what I want sorted out. But now that we have those in place, now I'm going to come in here, grab me some stones, hold my Alt key down so I can swipe through some of them. Now all those are selected all the way around. Now I'm going to right click on D. And you can see it took everything that I had and it spaced it perfectly. But I need more than what's here. So I know as a designer about how many I need. I'm just going to make 3 duplicates by hitting the plus key on my keyboard. 1, 2, 3. And there's just several of these sitting right on top of one another. See that? But now all I have to do is select my path and right click on D again. And ta-da! There it is. That's what I needed. Okay? I don't always get it right, but I guess pretty close on that one. So now I have that. Now I'm going to come in here and figure out what I'm going to do for my internal. So I think what I'm going to do is put a 6 right there, nestled in between those two. And then we're going to do a 10. And probably a 6. Because I think that's all it's going to fit. So that's going to create that piece of our R. Then I'm going to come in here. 6, 10, What are we going to do up top here? We'll throw in a 6 right there. Maybe even a 6 right here. And then a 10. And then we're going to go ahead and space these out. And they are what they are. There we go. So now we're going to go ahead and do the bottom part here. So we're going to do a 6 and a 10. And we're going to do a 6 and a 10 and a 10 to combine it. And then I want to evenly space what we have. Ta-da. Okay, so that is now complete. The rags part of the design is complete. And so now we have to kind of copy parts of the design down to the next line to use for roses. So we're going to copy our R down. And there's our R in place. Looks like I didn't grab all of it. So I'm just going to delete that and try that again. Because I do want all of it. All right, I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to grab my S, because I don't want to redo that. Line it up as closely as I can. And then I'm going to just copy it straight over. And there's that. So I can't borrow and beg and steal from anything else, so we're going to have to just go ahead and design the rest of it. So there's my E. I'm going to do a 6 and a 6 and a 10. And we're going to put in some 10s all the way around the perimeter. Right up top here. Okay, that's good enough. Then we're going to go ahead and sort and space all of that. Right click on BS to get rid of the stones, SS10s, add stones, and Easy Stone recalculated what we needed around there. So now we're going to bring over a 6. I'm going to start it out right there. And then we're going to begin with 10s. I need this second row in here, so I know what I'm doing here. Here I'm going to do 6 and 6 and 10. And then I'm going to come out around the bend here. So now we have all of that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort all these stones all the way back around again. So here we go. Alt key. We're going to swift through all of these, all of these, all of these, all of these, all of these. Come back around. Come back around. There we go. So we swiped through all of them. Didn't swipe right, didn't swipe left, we just swiped. And now we're going to right click on D again. And that just very, very, ever so slightly just made the most minute adjustment all the way around the bend there. Then here, I think we're just going to go with a 10 and a 6 to add some extra width in our letter E. And then we can continue on with our 10s. And then I'm going to switch over to 6s. And remember, I try to nestle it between two, just because what I do. And that takes care of our letter E. Then we're going to go and do our O. Ah, look at that. That worked out well, didn't it? Allows us to nestle it right in there. Go ahead and grab a 10. We're going to put one up at the top here, one down at the bottom. And then we're going to just kind of connect the dots. So outline, 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 outline. Okay, so now we've connected the dots. We're going to go through and select those. Right click on D to sort them out. And there I think we just need one stone added in. Now I'm going to come back around the other way. Outline, 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 outline. All I'm doing is hitting my space bar at this point. Don't worry too much about how this connects. Once we get our final position here, we'll figure out exactly how we're going to connect our R. That's why I said I usually work backwards. But in this case, we already have the R in place, so I'm going to add a stone. I think that's it, just the one. And look at there. Now we can nestle that bad boy right in between there. Okay, so that worked out well. And now we just need to fill in the extra width of our O here. I am going to select this whole design and just nudge it over a little bit. So our, this whole section right there. And just nudge it ever so slightly. And then I will take a SS6 here. And then a 10. And then up top, I think I'm going to use two SS6s. And then a 10. And then we just got to connect that. And then we have to space that. Right click. Then we got to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to use a 6 and a 10. Up top, we're going to use a 6 and a 10 straight off. Connect the dots. Sort it out. And because I am very obsessive compulsive, I need this bump. Otherwise it'll drive me crazy. So we just got to throw in a couple of stones to represent that extra little bump there. And that is going to take care of that. So now let's go ahead and move this design over. And what I want to do here is I want to select my rags N part of the design and group that. Then I want to select my roses and group that. Then I want to grab my collective and group that. And then I want to grab all of these orange stones. So I'm just going to target them, select one and target, and then just come in here and select the entire design and hit select. And then it's just going to select just my orange stones, which then I can group together. But in the process, I accidentally ungrouped everything else. It asked me, it said, are you sure you want to ungroup it? And I should have said no, but I accidentally clicked yes. So we're going to go back in and grab my rags N, group it, grab my roses, group it, grab my collective, and group it. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I want to center this horizontally, each one of these pieces, perfectly to my circle outline. So we're just going to select it and hit C. And I don't know if you saw that, but it just ever so slightly just moved it over. Okay. So now all that's taken care of. And if we throw a weed box around this, you could see how really nice this looks. And by us taking the time to scrutinize and design this, you could just see how the text and everything, it just really, what did I do here with this? I think that's supposed to be there. It just really, stands out and just looks really good. because we took the time with the different size stones and really nitpicked how everything connected and looked with one another. Um, Ultimately, you wind up with a really, really sharp looking design. Now, this is the part that I'm not so sure about. And this is kind of why I left it for last. Um, this is kind of, sort of, but definitely not symmetrical. And by that I mean, I believe I am fairly accurate that this rose is a mirror of that one. Because you see this detail here and this detail here, one slants this way, one slants the other way. So I think that's kind of true, that those are a mirror of one another. That's how I'm going to approach the design anyhow. I don't like to create anything twice. So that's one thing. My concern is that this is so small and so detailed, it might be a little bit difficult to get the detail we ultimately really want. But we're just going to come in here and try, and we're going to do nothing different than what we already been doing. So I'm going to start in here, 6, 6, 10, 10, 6, 6, 10, 6, 6, 6. Does not look exactly like the original, I think, in terms of the shape, but I believe it's going to be close enough. Carrying on, 6 and 10 and 10 and 10 and 6 and 6. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 10, space, right click, 10. This is one where I might actually, I'm just going to go ahead and use 6s and 10s, but this is one, honestly, look, by going through and doing this, I might even have considered using 16s. But this is okay. So you can see, I mean, it's fairly straightforward because the design is what it is. It's gonna tell us what we want it, what we need ultimately to do to create the look we're looking to create. So, we don't have to sit and guess too much about it because it is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and put that as a 10, a 6, and a 10, and a 6. That looks good. What we're doing, if we back out here a little bit, we're going to design right up to this point here. So we've got those extra shapes, and then we're going to flip it, and then we're going to, go ahead and do the center rows. So I just wanted to show every single step of the way of what I would actually do to create this rhinestone design, because there's not much out there that is going to really show us truly what it takes to create more intricate rhinestone designs. There's just not much out there. If there's another video demonstration that will show you this type of complexity from beginning to end, not just, just click this button here and magical things will happen. No, I don't want that. I want real world demonstrations I've never seen one, and I've been involved in this industry for years and years and years, and I've yet, other than the videos that I have a bunch of other videos that show real world logo examples. If you go to our YouTube channel and look up real world logos, you'll actually see me do some pretty intricate, definitely not just straightforward designs, and not with vector artwork. Not that there's anything wrong with vector artwork, mind you. It's just it's not like well, just click on a shape and have it magically be stone for us. Because to me, my mind just doesn't work that way. I got to have perfection. So to me, this is the only way to get it. And really, this isn't even perfection because we're just kind of, for lack of a better term, just kind of willy-nilly. You could see that that what we're doing here, this doesn't really look like the original shape. We're just doing it. We're just, the designer's mind has just kind of gone crazy at this point, and we're just throwing in rhinestones wherever. And this is we're just using CorelDRAW to make copies and hand place those stones. But the good thing is you saw me do it. It didn't really take that long, and the more you do it, the better at it you're going to get. So while I might have made it look kind of easy, it's really not. Okay, so I flipped it, I mirrored it, and you could see that this is not an exact duplicate. But I think if we rotate it like that, then it kind of is, if that's right. Yes. You could see now the shapes more or less do line up. We do have to delete some stuff here because the rows, the way it hits on this side isn't quite the same as the other. So I think we'll just delete that and put in a 10. That's probably doable. So we just have to make a couple of changes. It was a mirror copy of it, but it was slightly rotated. So I guess we'll delete that and that. Bring that down. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So now we just keep going here. Make that a 10. Bring over our 6. 10, 10, 10. 6, 6. 10, 6. So nice to be able to switch between stone sizes. Just boom, boom. So nice. Okay. So now that takes care of that rows on both ends. Now let's just go ahead and plop some stones down. So I would encourage, if you are a software developer, take this design and show me how wrong I am. Show me how to do this design, get this kind of end result. That's all what it's about. It's about the quality of the design here. How do you achieve this quality of result any quicker by using software automation? That's what I would love to see, because trust me now, if there was a quicker way to maintain this quality, this level of quality, if there was a quicker way, I would be buying whatever software that would enable me to create this quality quicker. Because trust me, I don't like spending all this time in front of my computer creating rhinestone designs. I just have to, because I can't sacrifice. It drives me stir crazy to see a design that's kind of more or less half-ass. Pardon my French, but it does bug me. So you can see I'm just kind of zoning out here. Same process all the way through. And hopefully, once we get done, it'll look really good and it'll look like roses. Sometimes when you're doing your design work, it don't look anything like what you're actually trying to have it look like. But once you get it all done, it actually turns out pretty good. But we're just kind of keeping a focus on the basic shape. Make sure that spacing, between the petals in this case is about right. Space them out nice and evenly. Just about done here. And then we get to see what we created. And the nice thing about this, real time, folks. This is real time. This is the first time that I've created this design. Probably shows because I didn't know what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. I just dived in and started trying some stuff. But you'll see every step of the way. So you'll know exactly how long it ultimately took. Because you're seeing every single stone drop. And I have no idea how much time I've worked on it. It feels like every design I do, every single design I do, I feel like, oh my goodness, I spent way too much time on that. Because I just let my OCD get the best of me. See that right there? That's just dumb what I just did. That's just me being OCD about it. I changed that one little dot to a 10 just because that artwork was just a little bit thicker. So I do that. I know I have that bad quality. It's like I just being silly to take the time to change that one stone to a 10. Was it really necessary? Or could I just got by with another 6? But yes, I will always sacrifice my time if I think it's going to make it look better. Just like that right there. I just wanted a 6 in there. I could have probably just as easily gone with a 10. But no, I had to put a 6 in there. All right. I'm feeling happy because I feel like I'm just about there. Just about done. I'm going to go ahead and make that a 6 too. I just think that'll fit across the board. And we could space them out nice and even so they're perfect. That'll work. We'll space these all the way around so those are perfect. Getting there. I'm getting there. Slow but sure. all the way up, over, let's see here, 6, 10, and 6, and 6, and 10. And then these, I'm just going to space evenly. Space those evenly. 6, 10, 10, 10, 6, 10, and 6. Ta-da! It's all done. All right, now let's take all of our roses. And just bring them over. Now I am going to select my rose or my orange again. So I target, select my entire design, select, and I'm going to group those oranges together. And I'm going to group these together. And then I need to center those two. So C for center. And then I'm just going to take these and position them more so in the middle. Now, because I'm anal about it, I do know that this collection of roses is centered left to right, but there's a little bit more spacing here than there is here. And I'm happy with that spacing here, but I'm not happy with it over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup all this. And I'm just going to position another circle at that spacing where I want it to be. So I want it to be roughly the same on both sides, that white space. Something's bugging me about that. And then I'll put that one right there. Okay. And then what I have to do is I have to make a selection of just the SS16 stones. So I'm going to mark, if we come over here to selections, I can mark that selected size. And then I can select my entire design. And then I can click on just by size. Now, because those are the only SS16s in the design, when I hit create selection, it's going to create just the selection of those SS16s. And then I'm just going to sort them. See how that is overlapping? So you'll see these stones shift ever so slightly when I right click. Now, there's a lot of stones going around there. But see, it just nudged that just that much. You know, it wasn't hardly anything. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. I'm going to target that. But here is a little bit different because we want to select by size here. So I'm just going to come in here and carefully select not that part. Come around here. Come around here. There we go. Okay, so now I have all that selected. And now I could do the same thing. I can hit create selection. Nope, it didn't do it. So I have to remark it and remake my selection. Something went amiss. I don't know what that was. Okay, so now we have all of that selected. We have some of these selected, which we don't want. We just want those outside stones selected, and then I'm going to hit by size, create selection. And now I have just those little SS6 stones selected. And then I can right click, and now you'll see this gap fill in right here, and you'll have nice little perfect spacing all the way around. So you can see how nitpicky I get with just that white spacings and, just that extra little nudge there. Uh, those are the little tiny things that I really key in on that really bug me. So now, this is what I would consider a complete design. So we'll add a weed box, and there is the Rags and Roses Collective. Now, looks pretty good compared to our original um, artwork. If we were to pull in our original artwork here, there's the original artwork. You can see, so it's pretty good representative of the original artwork. The one thing I would like to look at is to make sure that there are no overlapping stones within the design. So we'll hit change, check spacing, and it did find one. I don't know where it found one at, but apparently it wasn't happy about something, and I have no idea what that would have been. But it did find one. So then the next step would be to copy this over. I just make a duplicate, and I hit quick proof, and that will give us a simulated rhinestone look. It will give us the dimensions of the design, and it will also give us the stones that were used in the design. So, and it watermarks the file for us so we can send it to our customer. Does all kinds of great things for us. This process does kind of take a minute because a lot's happening here. I imagine there's quite a few stones in here, so it's working hard. This is one function that I've always tried to get to work quicker, and it just never works quicker. So there you go. So it's showing us that this is a 10.5-inch design by 11 inches tall, and then these are all the different stone sizes and colors used within the design. Only 1,291 stones. That's not too bad. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this design. And this is how I use the naming convention. So I do 5/13/19, today's date, and then EST, Easy Stone Templates, and then Rags and Roses logo, and then we'll save that to the desktop there and hit save. And so now that saves our design. I don't know why. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so now our design's saved. And so the last thing that we have to do is we have to create our vector output. So what I would probably do, and honestly in this case, I'm not so sure I wouldn't use one template for the whole design. Because we could brush in, we could take a piece of hot fix tape, we could cut this out in one template. We could take a piece of hot fix tape and cover up the Rags and Roses area with a piece of hot fix tape, and then we could brush in our SS16 border, then we could brush in our SS10s, then we could brush in our SS6s, and then we could peel our hot fix tape, and then we could put in our 10s and 6s on the crystal. In theory, we could do that. But I'll go ahead and show you how to do it in two templates. So we'll come here to the export vector file, and we'll say for template number 1, we're going to put the crystal on template 1, and then we'll put the orange, all the orange on template 2, and then we'll hit export files, and then it exports both our EPS and our SVG. And that's it. Done. And then we'll go ahead and export a proof image of this. So we're going to go back into export proof image and click that option. That just saves a JPEG to the desktop. Now, for those of us who are using Spangle machines or Rhinestone setting machines, or ultimately you want to bring this in to Hotfix, Sierra Hotfix, we'll select our design. We'll choose export vector file again. But this time we're going to do something different. Now, when we're talking about Spangle machines, our Spangle machines are set up 1, 2, 3. 1 4mm Spangle, 2 2mm Spangles, and then 3 3mm Spangles. So in this design, we're lucky because we have 1 6, we have 2 6s, we have two 10s and we have one 16. What that means is 16 becomes 4 millimeter, 10s become 3 millimeter, and 6s become 2. So all of that will fit on a single sheet, a single transfer sheet. And we're golden. So we're going to export to Illustrator all of it. Boom, 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 boom. We check export files. So it's going to save us an Illustrator version of this. Then we're going to bring in a program called Gem Master. And let's minimize all of that and open up Gem Master here. And we're going to, let's see here. This is kind of weird because, let's quit Skype here. There we go. That's what I needed right there. I need one of these windows here and choose maximize. There, that's what I was looking for the whole time. Sometimes Gem Master does that. It hides on us. It goes into hiding. So anyhow, there's the Rags and Roses AI file. We got to bring that over here. And then we hit File and Save. And that's just going to save our YNG file. And then that YNG file we can then import into Sierra Hotfix with our YNG import filter. And we have our design ready to go. I do want to point out one thing though. When we had that overlapping of stones on our V, remember it just barely overlapped. When we bring that into Gem Master, that it kicks it out. It kicks that overlap out. So once we get it into Hotfix, we will have to go back in and add that extra little spangle there for our spangle machine. But other than that, that's it. So anyhow, that's start to finish, every single step of the way. Nothing held back here. And hopefully that really gives you a good idea of what we painstakingly go through to create your killer design for you. So if you don't want to waste your time and want to keep your sanity, just send us your design and we'll be happy to fix you up and do it for you. Thanks for watching.